Hello, True Texans. Today we have a special podcast for you outside of our normal monthly podcast because we have a guest from South Africa. Now, he is sounding the alarm, saying what is going on in his country is similar to what's going on in our country. And we agree. We tend to agree. So before we go any further, though, I know this is a topic that we aren't all completely familiar with. So we want you to watch this quick video, and then we'll introduce our guest.
Some say it's just a slogan, just a chant, just a song from a different time. But let's be clear, when words glorify violence and target a specific group, they are more than just words. They become weapons. They become instructions. The slogan, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," has left the realm of political theatre. It has inspired bloodshed, fueled by brutality, and echoed in the background of real crimes committed on South African soil. In 1992, farmer Godfrey Frederick Lance Hewer was murdered. His killer, Ntutoko Chowene, later told the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, under oath, that he was influenced by this very slogan, which he heard at ANC rallies. Chowene didn't just hear it, he believed it, and he acted on it. In 2018, a couple in Porterville, Western Cape, were assaulted. The male victim doused in petrol, but his attackers did not succeed in setting him on fire. The female victim was sexually assaulted. Weeks before the attack, their property was defaced with a graffiti written on the front door: "Viva Juju, kill the Boer, Viva EFS." The message was loud and very clear. In 2023, Tim and Amanda Platt were brutally attacked in their farmhouse in KwaZulu-Natal. While Amanda was beaten with pipes and stabbed, one of the attackers shouted, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer." This wasn't protest. It was attempted murder, fueled by hate. When a phrase has been repeated at crime scenes, quoted by killers, and used to dehumanize, it becomes incitement. And when the state turns a blind eye or tries to sanitize such speech, it becomes complicit. AfriForum believes that no one in South Africa should live in fear because of their identity or occupation. We call on all law-abiding citizens to stand against hate. We call on the leaders to condemn violence, not chant about it, because when words become blood, silence is complicity.
So today we have a very special guest with us from South Africa, as Julie said. His name is Werner Human. I hope I've pronounced that right. He is an expert in community empowerment in the solidarity movement in South Africa. So we are very interested to see what he has to say about what's happening in his country and how it relates to what's happening in ours. Welcome, Werner.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. It's wonderful being in the United States. What a beautiful country. We started our trip, and my colleague and I, about 2 weeks ago. We started in Michigan with the Mackinac Conference, Republican Conference in Mackinac Island.
Mm-hmm.
We took our way through to D.C., Washington, D.C., where we had meetings at the White House and also the State Department. And now we are very privileged to be in this great state of Texas.
Okay. Well, we're thrilled to have you, and we're thrilled that you reached out to us, because I do agree that what you have going on definitely is a strong message for Texans and Americans in general. There are a lot of parallels, but I'm just going to assume that most of our audience is like me, and we have a vague understanding of, there was apartheid and the whites are outnumbered in South Africa. Like, we don't really know much. So tell us about what's going on and what the solidarity movement is, and why are we here today?
I think it's a very appropriate place to begin, just to give a broad overview. There's, of course, as it would be the case in so many countries, so many detail that you can dive into. But the short overview would be, I think most people would agree that South Africa as a country is a beautiful country. We've got the most beautiful landscapes, the most beautiful mountains, and also beautiful people. But what we also have, unfortunately, is we have a government that is incompetent and inept. We have a government in the form of the African National Congress, which took power in 1994 with the first elections, democratic elections that came in 1994. And they have roots which also signals trouble here in the United States, in the sense that their roots are unashamedly inspired by a Marxist-Leninist ideologic point of departure. They also speak about the National Democratic Revolution that comes from Lenin. They believe in absolute racial representation in order to central plan society and order society along racial lines. That would mean each sector of society being able to comply with the 18:992 ratio. That means 80% black, 9% white, 9% colored, 2% other. And those metrics are aggressively pursued across all sectors of society. And the tentacles of the state are reaching so much further. And it isn't as if they can say that they've got any results to show. Our economic growth is about at 1%. Our unemployment is almost 40%.
Whoa.
Our youth unemployment for people under age of 25 is more than 50%. And if you go to the age 32, it's just about 40% as well. So with 1% of economic growth, with a very dark outlook on the economic level, and we've got deep decaying state institutions. I don't know if you know about blackouts in the US. Blackouts is where you don't have enough, the electricity supply doesn't have enough electricity to provide, and we had rolling blackouts for about 10 years. It started actually in 2007. There were a few years where there was relief. Our tariffs and our electricity spikes it become unaffordable for ordinary people, and we had rolling blackouts until a couple of months ago, which means we got anything from 12 hours to 4 hours a day without electricity. And that is solely because of corruption, incompetence, and we can see how this plays out. In the 1990s, the ANC started with a very aggressive program, which they called the Black Economic Empowerment Program. They instituted legislation to that effect, and what it did, it chased away the skills at these crucial institutions, and it replaced them not with competent people, but party cadres, political party cadres.
Sounds so familiar.
It does.
And we are living in those consequences. The route that South Africa is now on with the current party and the current dispensation isn't sustainable at all. And if I can maybe touch upon the work of our movement. So if we can see this is the context of South Africa, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and you have a government which is opposed to your efforts to change them. If we take them to court, which we've done many, many times.
And when you say we, and
it's our solidarity movement.
Okay.
If we take them to court to challenge their inept decisions or their unlawful decisions, or we bring the responsible officials to court, they purport us to be racists. They say we are racist for doing that. We are anti-transformation. We don't want to see black people in particular do well in the country. And it's the contrary. If everyone in the country does good, we will also do good. So all our efforts is directed at bettering the lives of all people. But what we do have is we differ with those fundamental points of departure. We are a broad Christian-based movement. We started in the 1990s with a single institution, and we have a slogan that states, "Ons sal self." I'm glad that I'll be able to speak Afrikaans in this podcast. Ons sal self, and what it means is we will do it ourselves. The state is not going to bring, the ANC is not going to come
personal
to save us. We take our own personal responsibility. We created institutions on every level that you can think of. We are building educational institutions, universities, schools, technicons, which we've already done.
Wait, so Solidarity is building universities?
Yes.
Oh.
And we've got no choice. And we've got no choice.
But are you getting pushback from the government?
Immensely.
You just do it anyway.
We do it anyway because if you are going to depend your own success on an external party like government and say we are here to wait for handouts, nothing's going to come for free. You have to work with it and you have to work on it in a responsible manner. So we took our membership fees, which is it's $5 or $10 a month that we ask our members, and we manage it very, very well. We started a building fund that started about with $1 building fund, and we managed that well, and we were able to build a technikon. With that, we are also building a university now, because our public institutions have also come on the scrutiny of the state and are also inspired by the ideology and the ideas of the state. So if you say one of our most important assets is the family unit and your children, you ask yourself, what are they exposed to at these public institutions? We have the responsibility to provide an answer.
So let me just stop you there, because you're sparking so many questions, and then you move on, and I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't grasped this part yet. But how many people are in South Africa? What do you know the general population?
We have a general population of about 60 million, but we've got so many illegal immigrants what you will know all about in South Africa, but officially it's just over 60 million.
And how many would you say are in the solidarity movement?
So Afrikaners in South Africa is about 2.5 million, and we've got a member base of more than 600,000.
And with that, you're able to build your own schools. I'm stuck on that idea now because our schools are so bad. And what is the answer? You're building your own schools. And I also want to point out something you said a while back was, they call us racist, and they call us like, we're used to that. Like, we get called every name in the book, and eventually you're like racist, whatever, anti, whatever, but there was a new one you threw in there.
Anti-transformation.
Anti-transformation.
So transformation.
So I'm going to brace myself for that one.
Transformation is the euphemism for them doing whatever they want. If you're opposed to their policies, the racial representativity, and if you even criticize them in government, you are opposed to transformation. And this is a euphemistic term for the ANC specifically having a open check, one can say, to do whatever they please. And we are pushing that.
And I just have a quick question to throw in there. Does South Africa have a constitution?
We have a constitution. It's a constitution that has been hailed worldwide. It's a constitution that's, in a way, something that the texts come from Canada, from Britain also. So South Africa's constitution has been praised worldwide. If you read the constitution, you will find many things you agree with. There are good things in the constitution. But guess what? I don't know if you've read Zimbabwe's constitution ever. Have a look at that. And maybe the viewers can also check me on that, but have a look at the Zimbabwe constitution. You would see that the Zimbabwe constitution also reads quite well. So we don't measure the intentions. We measure the outcomes.
So we have a pretty good constitution too, and it's
and nobody follows it. I guess that's what's happening in South Africa.
And so they have the constitution has become subservient to ANC rule. We do have a judiciary which is largely still independent. We still use and utilize the courts, which is our right, as far as we can, to demand accountability, to get relief for our members, also to take on injustices that occur. So we do use that avenue, but the independence and the quality of the judiciary is under increased scrutiny. The judges, although we had fine judges and fine judgments, if you look at how judges are appointed,
so they're not elected.
They're not elected. They are appointed by a panel, and that panel consists of 60% of members of parliament, in other words, politicians, and the majority party, the largest party rather, is the one that has the greatest say ultimately. And they also have this sort of line of questioning to first determine what are those prospective judges' commitment to the word transformation. And if you are you're critical against that notion that the ANC brought in of transformation, they don't view you as a judge that will take the country forward, and you will be, even if you've got all the qualifications, you won't be considered.
It's so interesting to me that the devil uses the same tactics no matter where we are throughout all history and all locations. I'm curious, are there white South Africans, and I don't know if that's a redundant term, but whatever, that oppose you?
We have about, if we look at let's say, the white South African composite in South Africa. About 2.5 million are Afrikaners, which means we are a white complexion and we speak Afrikaans. Then you have English South Africans. Remember, we were also colonized by the British. We fought a war against the British in between 1899 and 1902. There were 30,000 brave Boers, like we were called. Boers for farmer, that's Afrikaans word for farmer, boer. Afrikaans word for farmer is Boers. About 30,000 that fought against ultimately 500,000 of the English. So we've got a history with British colonialism, which we opposed in the country, but it's about 3 million or so English-speaking white South Africans. And no, there is from the left, obviously, there's a portion, especially in the media too, that will oppose our efforts, and they follow the party line or the state line, which you get. It's not all media houses, but you do get it. But largely, there's great support for what we do. And also, can I tell you, a lot of our work is within traditional communities within South Africa. Of the 60 million population in South Africa, about 20 million people live in traditional areas. That's black people in rural areas that lives in a setting where there's a chief, where there's communal land, and that is their reality. And we say to take South Africa forward, we need to move forward with mutual recognition and respect to provide each other sufficient space to be able to live the lives that they would want to live, but we must also be provided with sufficient space to live our lives. So we have joint projects with these communities, agricultural projects, because in the spirit of onszelf self, we would do it ourselves. We also care about how relations are between the horizontal level in the country. The horizontal level between people are not as bad as the vertical relationship imposed by government.
Excellent.
So what I hear you saying, and I can only relate to it from what we have here in the States, is that the solidarity movement is making efforts to be fair to all. And they take advantage of that, and they just want to promote themselves. Like I feel like that happens here. Like we always say, "Oh, stretch across the aisle and let's all get along," and this whole kumbaya thing. But that serves to hurt us because they take advantage of our kindness and our Christian nature, and only want to promote themselves. So it's like a perfect example, the whole phrase, kill the boer. Like why are they wanting to kill the farmer? Like that seems a little bit foolish since the farmer provides the food. But what's that all about?
Self-destructive.
The specter of farm murders is it's a traumatic phase for our country, especially our people. There's been about 3,000 farm murders that have taken place in South Africa in the most brutal way imaginable. Boiling water down an old woman's throat, burning them with irons. It's brutal, inhumane, and in many cases, nothing is stolen. And the specter of farm murders, it especially got attention in 2003. There was a system that they called the commando system. So it was a system that was a rural system for the farms to keep the farmers safe. And when the ANC government came in, they disbanded that because they believe you must have one police for everyone. You shouldn't have different sectors. But then the farmers were more exposed. And so it was since 2003 at least that from our movement, we brought more and more attention to the specter of farm murders and what is happening. It also necessitated us. Another institution we established was AfriForum. And AfriForum specifically focuses on safety. And we've got training facilities countrywide. We've got about 10,000 volunteers that we give material to, that we give training to, adequate training to make their communities safe, but also on the farms as well. And the Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer song, there's another clip where the most proponent, and this is this guy right here, his name is Julius Malema. He in his election campaign in last year, he went at a stadium full of people, a soccer stadium full of people, and he rose with a pedestal. And he is someone who regularly sings "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer." He's the one that made the song in the New South Africa, as they call it, after 1994, very, very famous. And just last week, at a campus, a university where I studied incidentally, which was historically a Christian university with a Christian ethos and a Christian base, they went into the main building and they sang that song again, Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer. Now, astonishingly, the South African president was challenged on this by no one other than President Trump.
Oh.
President Trump invited the President Cyril Ramaphosa to South Africa, to the White House. He came from South Africa. And that clip is also easily available to have a look at. And
wait. Okay. So does the United States and South Africa have a positive relationship?
That's a good question. So let me answer that first, and just maybe that will be better to say more what happened in the White House.
Yeah.
So South Africa and United States historically had very good relations, especially under Ronald Reagan. In the 80s, he had although there's a lot of things that had to change in South Africa, Ronald Reagan understood that we must ask the question, if you want to replace the National Party government, the question must be with what? And the ANC is not necessarily the adequate answer. But after 1994, there were such a strong bond between the US and South Africa, first under Bill Clinton, also under President Bush, but then the ANC, their policies, their beliefs became more and more effectively translated through their foreign policy. Now, the roots of the ANC is not pro-American. It's not pro the West. It is, I would go as far as to say, anti-American and anti-West. Mm-hmm. If you would go and trace it today, you would find that the president of South Africa will make a broad remark critiquing the US, but then many of the officials of the ANC will go out at meetings, which is also recorded and on video, how they would be anti-American, against American imperialism.
Do you have any idea what prompted that change?
I think it is, to be honest, I think it was inevitable, because the roots of the ANC is that it's as if they are still stuck in the Cold War. The vocabulary that they use and the way they conduct themselves, they are still stuck in the Cold War. They need to understand that their foreign policy should be one that serves the interest of South Africa. And then you can have good relations with most countries, but you have to have a good relationship with the United States. So the relationship.
So go back to the
relationship got
Trump
sour. The relationship got sour because the government more and more agitated against the US in foreign policy. It joined BRICS nations. So the S in BRICS is South Africa. Which is opposed actually to trying to be a counterweight to the US, and they have increasingly been agitating against the US. And some notable points was, one can say, Lady R. It's a so-called Lady R. It's a shipment where the US said their intelligence services, and this is also in public, stated that a South African docking ship, or South Africa allowed a ship to dock with Russian weapons to feed to Russia for the war against Ukraine. South Africa denied this, but the US was, and this is in the Biden administration, then it started to build up that South Africa is agitating against US interest. Secondly, very, very importantly, 2 years ago, there was a public hearing in Congress on South Africa, and Representative John James of Michigan, he introduced a Republican. He introduced this public hearing to say we must review our relationship with South Africa, and he gave 5 or 6 reasons. Now that is a red flag for South Africa. They had an opportunity under the Biden administration to restore the relationship. They had not. In February this year, President Trump issued an executive order providing refugeeship for Afrikaner people in South Africa to the United States. There's already a few batches that came to the United States and are assimilated. I want to make
sure people are catching that. So Trump went to South Africa and said these Boers or just anybody in South Africa, they can have refugee status in the States. Is that correct?
He issued a executive order to the effect that he stopped the aid that was flowing to South Africa, as he did in the other countries as well, because there's money wasted there. And then also he specifically said the wording, exact wording would be white South Africans that are under siege. There was a specific terminology used, but that was in the context of the farm murders which came to his attention, and also the human rights abuses that he also quoted within that executive order. So he explained that in the executive order, and that just sets out a barrage of critique, and then the
and
ANC,
that was in the past spring. That was just this year.
This year,
spring.
February.
Okay.
Quickly fast forward to April, and that is where the meeting took place between President Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa. It was an interesting meeting because there were 3 South African golfers accompanying President Trump. Two professional golfers and 1 businessman. And they've got a good relationship with President Trump. They play golf together, they know one another, and it looks like they said to President Trump, the issues, the matters that are happening in South Africa are serious. And that song, Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer, is something that for all the reasons that you've already mentioned, is critically important to address. And President Trump...
Let's stop there, because maybe we need to splice in a little bit of that song so our viewers can hear it. And then tell me, what is the origin again of this song? Because I mean, for there to be a song that says murder the farmers in America, like that would be very disturbing. So if that's what you guys are listening to, it's just a pop song, or like, what is that? It's a campaign song, a pop song. What is it?
The origins of the song is actually a chant, and it's an aggressive chant. Part of the chant is the signaling off of gunshots. They make sounds that sounds like gunshots and very determined. And the origin of the song comes from the apartheid years, what they would call the struggle years, and what the EFF and the ANC would say it's part of their heritage. So they would say the meaning of the song, it's not against people, but it was against the system. That they wanted to raise awareness for.
And that's how they justify it.
That's how they justify it.
And yet farmers are being
And I've got
murdered.
I've got the river card here coming up with regards to that song, what happened, what we did about that song. But the origins of the song is, their best explanation is it's a struggle song that was sung 40 years ago. And although there's a new dispensation with the ANC and government and everything, they still say it's white monopoly capital. That is their words. That's controlling all interests. We don't have any political power. We're not in political office. Our movement's not a political party. We're a civil rights voluntary movement. We have to convince people to contribute to our cause. We are not entitled to it through taxation. But they say now the song is appropriate against whiteness that still remains in South Africa.
So
That's
it is very similar. It's very similar to here, where whites are the minority now, and yet we're still treated as the evil majority that wants to just hoard all the money and oppress other people, and we deserve to be killed because of that.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're experiencing here. So it sounds very similar.
There are strong parallels to be drawn, and we took that song to court the first time through AfriForum in 2011, and we succeeded in that case. It was brought on appeal, and the appellant court requested that the parties try and see if they can make a settlement. And the settlement was between AfriForum, us, and ANC, and they said they will not sing the song anymore. That's around 2013. And then when he came to the political party and his profile has again reached the highs, he started to sing the song again. So we went again to court, and the court found against us. And they said it's part of free speech to do that. Although we can show pictures, statistics highlighting the dangers of singing a song like that, the court found against us in favor of him. We took it to the Constitutional Court. Our highest court in the country is the Constitutional Court. It's like our Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, right.
It's the Constitutional Court. And they also decided not to hear the song and effectively abided by a lower court's finding that the song is allowed. Now, back to President Trump, just quickly. In the White House, he played that video to President Ramaphosa. And President Ramaphosa was visibly uncomfortable with that song. And
wait, Trump was playing the song for a South African.
They were having a discussion, and then he said, which is now in our context, famous words now, he said, dim the lights. So the lights were dimmed and a TV screen was rolled in.
I remember seeing that on the news.
I am clueless about this. This is fascinating.
TV set was rolled in, and he played that chant. And then President Ramaphosa, just there, if he was before on the world stage, he had the option to say, we denounce the singing of that song. We condemn it, and he didn't.
But he didn't.
He didn't. And still today...
Well, what did he say, though? Like, what did he say to Trump?
He said there are many issues in the country, that his party is not the same party as this guy's party, and he tried to go around.
So he tried to dissociate.
He tried to disassociate and say what he and what his party, which is the ANC, believe is something different.
Yeah,
but
he was making excuses.
Making excuses and not directly answering and condemning the singing of the song.
We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do, with or without you. People are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yeah. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. So whatever you want to do, we can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament.
Yes, Honorable Member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill, Namaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa, pa.
The man of DJ in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Sunni will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill, Namaza. Kill the brewer, the farmer. Kill the brewer, the farmer. All right. Come on, sir. Hold it, guitar. Kill him, man. Hirwata, Tamarumo, Asicha. Where were you when I'm sick? Where were you when I'm there? So far, sketchy. Emoyen. So far, sketchy. Emoyen. So far, sketchy. Etati. Kichi. Kichima. Zipram Konto. Alliance. Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr-pa. Brr-pa. Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr-pa.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, was not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter. They freak out. It sounds like a genocidal.
I can't take it.
Shaya. Sisubatula Azobalega Sisubatula Azobalega
who will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refugee in America.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road, you have crosses.
It reminds me so much of what's happening in America today with the call for the killing of ICE agents. You know, it's one thing to criticize policy about immigration, but to call for the killing of the people who are carrying out the policy just because they're doing the job they were assigned to do is just outrageous to me. And yet we have people all over the country in political circles as well as the common people are calling for that.
Well, and it's more than just ICE. It's
more than just ICE.
8647,
Yeah.
right? That's a death threat.
Just one example.
On college campuses, all the, kill Mary Catherine because she dared to speak up in defense of Charlie Kirk. And I think it just gives people a permission slip that
and it's so wrong. It's just not okay. We have to find ways to stop it. I can't imagine living in the situation that you're living in because, I mean, it's bad enough in our opinion here, and yet it's nothing like what you guys
I wonder if it's more shocking to us because it's still relatively fresh and new. And how long have you been dealing with this?
Yeah, it's decades. It has been since the 1990s. There was we want to almost say a brief honeymoon period in the 1990s. And then when the corruption starting to sink in, safety structures collapsing, the police collapsing and being ineffective, there would be certain police officers which are still committed to keeping the whole country safe, but as an institution, all our state institutions are failing. And then the question is, what do we do?
Right. Like, where's the hope? Do you just, if you abandon your country and give it up, like you could be the refugees here, right? But that doesn't help them.
That doesn't help, and we cease to exist as a people. So we came from, my family, my forefathers came to South Africa on 1703. So we've been surviving in Africa, as one can say, a Western nation for more than 300 years.
Wow.
I specifically have German heritage.
German, okay.
And but we've been here for more than 300 years and we've survived. And although we are a Western nation with Western values, we have, if you would ask me, what am I? I'm an Afrikaner, but I'm an African because we became a people from Africa. In Africa, we became one with the soil. We learned to hunt there. We learned to farm there. We became an independent people. We are not Europeans. And we are not Dutch or German, we are Afrikaners, a distinct group that formed on the continent of Africa, and we become accustomed to it. So we are not going to leave.
So when you say that you're an African, not an Afrikaner, but an African, do you say that with pride?
I'm an Afrikaner in identity, but we became an Afrikaner on the African soil. So in that sense, we are African too. Because we became a people in Africa. It's a unique case because we have a Western heritage.
It's very interesting.
Which can be at least traced to 1517 with the Reformation, if you want to trace our history, because the reason why there were French Huguenots and Germans and Dutch fleeing or going to South Africa, it's part about a station that was established by the then the Dutch Parliament or the Dutch government, and then ultimately more and more people came from prosecution from on the Protestant side. But we've been in South Africa all this time, so we're not going anywhere, and we will and we must find our solutions there. And our answer to give people hope, because that's one of the most important things that we've realized. If you don't give hope to a people, they will assimilate and become the failure and decay that surrounds them. And the only way in which you can provide hope is if you create realities and circumstances for people to remain there. And that's why educational facilities, our safety structures, our cultural institutions, we have all of those. We've got more than 20 institutions, more than 50 companies, all on a non-profit basis to assist us to help ourselves.
That's very impressive.
I'm like, how do we get to that point where we can have institutions that are protected? That's amazing. Like, my mind is just like spinning. Like, how do we get to that point? But you've been doing this since, like, when did these institutions start getting built? Like in the 90s? We started in the 90s, but the mood in South Africa in the 90s is what I would say in a very sincere and matter of with humility. Many people got caught up in the dream of South Africa, the notion of everything is fine now. We don't need to worry, everything is sorted. But we looked at the past and we looked at the foundations of the governing party. And objectively, it's not to do with race. It hasn't to do anything with race. It has to do with what is the ideas that underpin an organization or a government. And those ideas, which are socialist, as I said, Marxist, Leninist inspired, central planning, control, race obsession, absolute race quotas, and I go on and on. That was the foundation in the 90s as well. It's not a new thing. And all that we did is we connected the dots and we looked at history and said, well, if that happened 50 years ago, 40 years ago, this would be the outcome. And we were right in our thinking in the 90s. And how do you respond to that? For us, institutions are the vehicles of freedom, because you take self-responsibility and you create an energy to build these institutions. So we started in the 1990s, but we started with about 10,000 members. Not much funds. But 10,000 members, that's huge.
That's still quite a lot.
That's a lot of people.
Especially in a country of 60 million.
Yeah.
And today we're more than 600,000.
That's
and
amazing.
It's because we can provide an answer for people who require hope. Hope for the future. And with institutions that we built, people can contribute, form part, and we plan for the next generation. We are not a political party, so we don't plan for elections. Most parties will, they only see 5 years ahead or 3 years ahead, depending on the election. We plan for 3 generations ahead in everything that we do, so that our children may have a safe and prosperous future.
So we had very similar experiences. I know we keep saying that there's so many similarities. But, when Obama came into office and he really started playing that race card and trying to divide the nation, which sounds like similar to, like, let's make them hate each other. And he was very successful at it. So here we are today. But your answer has been, we are staying and integrating, as opposed to, like, my thought is, well, let's build communes and we're just going to have our own little compound over here and our schools and our institutions, and you guys, you can just sit in your own rot, right? But you haven't done that. Like, it sounds like you've stayed integrated to some degree.
Yes, and how we approach the question, that's the age-old question for South Africa. What is the correct dispensation for a country which is as diverse as us? We've got 11 official languages, more than 11 official languages, but more than 11 languages in the country, more than 11 cultures in the country. We've got landscapes that actually justify different parts of a country. We are more of a region than a country. So you've got immense diversity. And the age-old question was, how do you settle that diversity? And the way in order to settle that diversity and live and prosper as one region, or as a group of people living in one region, is to provide ample space and opportunity for those to be able to express their identity. Us being a minority, and we don't use the word minority as much because it's got a connotation that you want to demand things, and so we view ourselves as a community. South Africa, more aptly described, is a community of communities. The ANC government, and I must mention them because that's their mode of governance, they divide our country in 2 races, white and black. And we say that's not our country. We are a community of communities.
Yeah.
And in order to survive as a community, there are certain prerequisites that's necessary. Education is one of those prerequisites to be able to exist. And another thing is a cultural space in order to be able to express our culture freely, which is an Afrikaans culture, which is actually the driving energy for all the work that we do. And that's also our line of history. And one important thing also is we know for us to be effective, we have to be together also, which means that when we establish a safety structure, we do it in our way, in our means, it's voluntarily, but then as a group, we reach out to other groups and safety structures and communities. And that's the sequence of how we do things. For us to contribute to the country or to the nation as a whole, we must be able to be free to be ourselves and have our own identity. And that's why we protect our identity and culture, because if you say that is disallowed, you are saying actually we as a people are disallowed, and our beliefs and how we view things. And the last thing in that sense is there is a property or territory in South Africa called Uranium. It's a very, very small town. It was open and vacant land in the early 90s, and it's a group of Afrikaners who say that we also want to have a town, a territory that we can also have our own customs and our own practices as well.
Right.
And they also have good relations with many other traditional communities and tribes in the area. So in order to have a successful South Africa, there must be an acknowledgement of identity, culture, religion, practices. And through that acknowledgement, beautiful things can come of
So
when
do you
work
feel
together.
like these other communities that are not whatever you are, the communities accept you, but not the big ANC,
The government.
I'm not sure if I have all the terminology and people groups straight in my head, but are you accepted? Like, because I know that here, they demand that we accept all these cultures that have infiltrated America, but we're not allowed to have our own culture. So are these people accepting of you holding on to your culture?
It's a very good question, an important question. Firstly, what you said about, let's say, on the government level, which I call the vertical level, they place not only pressure on us, but also on these traditional communities. And the reason why is the traditional communities also provide a threat to them. Their ideology is they want to control everything and see everyone in the same manner. Any differentiation they are opposed to. But as a diverse country, you cannot have that central stronghold on a people's entire existence. So there's a strain as well. On a more horizontal level, what we find is it is important that we engage with one another. And we've been doing so for years. And the way in which reality works is that you won't be able just to sit across the table from someone and just quickly drink a tea and everything is fine. There are serious issues that we did discuss and are discussing with them. And that sincerity has brought about that we are really finding one another on a deep level. And here's the difference. Here's, I would say, the key for us being accepting and also launching initiatives with different communities in public, in media conferences. We have farmland where we haze and there's product being produced directly to the community. So we've got a track record to show how we work with different communities and how that work together is also paying back to the community in terms of produce and the rest. But the reason why it works is we accept that we are not going to force one another to think like they do or think like we do. We say we must not focus on where we differ on everything, but let's see what's our shared interest. And with that shared interest, you can build a foundation, and then the differences you have, you provide ample space and understanding for.
Is there any evangelism going on? Like, do you ever see them convert to Christianity?
In South Africa, about 80% of people are Christian. 80% of people are Christian. And the form of Christianity.
Wait. Go back to that. Okay, 80%.
More than 80%.
Because you're only, what was it, 2 million out of 60 million?
Yeah.
So I guess I just assumed that those would be the Christians, and the black people or whatever, they're all different tribal religions.
What's the other 20%?
So it's about 80% Christian in the country. We are largely, not definitively, Protestant Christian, but Afrikaners are, we've done polls amongst our members and in our communities. We are more than 90% Christian Afrikaners. Black people in the country or traditional communities, they are largely also deeply committed Christians, and they go to church, and they are socially very conservative. They've got a different brand of Christianity. There's a few things that they would believe in addition, which we don't, but we don't judge them for that. But they're more than 80% Christian. We haven't got a big Muslim population. It's about 1.5% Muslim. It's increasing, but it's about 1.5% Muslim.
Okay.
We've got also, I'm not exactly sure the number, but it's in the single digits, maybe at a double digit Jewish population as well. And
so who are the people shouting "kill the Boer"? Christians?
Yeah, they would. They actually. In that sense, what's also very disturbing is in many of their rallies, they would, especially before elections, they will have a rally and a pastor would come and bless them, and so they mix religion and politics up, which is not a good idea because they use faith for political purposes. So you find that, so they would actually also say it's justified singing that song from a Christian worldview, which is a distorted view.
Yeah.
I'm just so mad.
It's like the church in Keller that's hosting the drag show this week as part of their church service. It's
how can you call yourself a church? How can you call yourself a Christian and say we need to kill the farmers? I just don't get that. So let me look at where we're at on time here. Okay, yeah. So we only really have a few more minutes before we need to wrap up. But I want to know, why are you here in the States? What's your goal here?
Thank you for asking that question. My colleague and I have been visiting the United States for the past 3 years. We believe, one, it's important for us as a people, as the Afrikaner, that we should tell our own story. If you're going to look up Afrikaner on the media, you won't find any substance, but you would find critique on many points. But it's important for us to tell our own story. Secondly, South Africa has moved on immensely this past 30 years. People are beginning to see the government for their true colors, and people are also seeing Afrikaners. We are still there in the country. We don't like our government, but we love our country. And they can see that we've been constructive. We played a constructive role in the country. We are making contributions greatly to the country. And in a country which is full of contradictions, we have a positive and lasting role. We believe it's important for the international community for two things: to recognize what is happening in South Africa, the reality. And there's so much more statistics that I can run now, which is just depressing statistics. But it's not only to just provide negative news. It's also to say that if there's a view that South Africa is successful, or that Afrikaners are just bad, or that all people are ANC people, that's the wrong perception. It's important to delineate and see there's another South Africa going on. There's a group like us which want to play a constructive role and have a constructive relationship with the US. And how we work is we want international support and pressure also on the South African government, which is currently happening. The second thing is we need also to share our solutions that we have. So with everything that we do, we inform people, but we also state these are the constructive solutions. There's now a trade agreement that is trying to be signed between the US and South Africa. There are a few requirements that the US had listed. We provide proposals about how can it happen, and we publish those proposals. It's available everywhere, so we play that constructive role as well. So we want the international community, especially the US, to be informed, to know of the solutions that we have, and also possibly if they are convinced in what we are pursuing is a just cause, it's also an opportunity to, in a way, contribute and support our efforts in South Africa. We have many things in common, like you also said a few times. And I think if we just have a podcast on that, we will have the list would be unending in that regard. We are a Western nation, and we do have a bond. We also have South Africa's role. If we talk about the South Africa as a country, they have a role in geopolitics, and that's the interest. If I should look from a United States perspective on South Africa. We have South Africa now is making all the wrong friends. They are in bed with Iran and all of those actors. In China, the South African government has taken Israel to court and accused them of genocide, and they take it to the ICG, and they are drifting away, and but they are an important point in Africa. South Africa remains an important country in Africa, and it's important to have a healthy relationship between the US and SA in that sense. And we can provide a bridge in that regard. We can provide proposals in that regard, so that there's a healthy relationship, that our community is healthy, and that we've got normality. And lastly, I would want to say, if you would ask, what is it that we want normalcy. It would be irresponsible of me if I would take our children in Pretoria and we just go walk out in the street at any time in the day. It's irresponsible. We don't live in fear, but it's irresponsible because it's not that safe. It would be irresponsible to walk with our children in public spaces, especially in the CBDs of the great cities. So our safety situation
Okay.
is not
we probably
normal.
need to expand on that a little bit. I did. We run Airbnbs, my husband and I do, and we had guests that stayed with us that we knew were from South Africa, and we were just curious about what life is like. And so we said, can we take you to dinner? And we did, and they sat us down, and they're telling us that they can't go to the grocery store and come home and take bags out of their car one by one, because when they came back after the first bag, everything would be gone. And the same with their kids. They couldn't just leave their kid in the car while they ran and did something or whatever, like ran back into the house or whatever, because it's not safe to leave your kid there. And I feel like we haven't really touched on that. What is daily life like? And I know we're out of time, but when you say you can't walk down the street with your kid in daylight, that's a big deal. Tell us more.
It's important to understand that in the right context. The right context is if we choose to live in fear, that fear would ultimately, it will take you over.
It's a cancer.
So it's a cancer. So it's important to say we don't live in fear, but you must be responsible. So that's why we must create structures to keep communities safe. So when you are walking in the grocery store, you will be more aware of where your children are. If you sit at a restaurant, you will be wary of where you place your phone. Do you place it close to you, far to you? That's the type of detail which you must be prepared upon. You can take walks in the park. It's not like, or in the street, it's not like there are bandits waiting in the bush and jumping out. But you are exposed when you're outside of there. So you have to take the necessary precautions when you go out. And there are many zones in South Africa which you simply will not go. My children have never been in the CBD. They've never visited museums in the inner city because it's simply a dangerous place to be. It would be irresponsible.
Tourists? Do you not have a tourist?
We have a good tourist industry. I think it's largely because we've got a beautiful land, and also the rand-dollar, rand-euro ratio is in favor of the visiting tourists. But they are also very aware, and they are living in places which is simply more safe. So it's something that we must be aware of. But you must, in a way, responsibly, you can be safe, and a lot of the more informal settlements, they are even more exposed in South Africa. So it's an unsafe country. Homicide levels are from the highest in the world. It's about 32,000 per 100,000 people are murdered in South Africa. The global average is 5.
Wow.
It's violent, but again, you cannot allow that to deter you from your task, and that's why creating awareness,
it
asking
motivates
for support, it motivates us to find solution to all these deep seating problems.
Wow.
Well, I would love to say we can help with that. I don't know what that specifically is going to be, but I think it's beautiful that you guys are 30 years ahead of us, right, in dealing with this problem. And you can come to us and say, hey, here's some ideas. Here's how we can help you. And in turn, we can turn around and say, wow, you guys are dealing with a lot. How can we help you? So that it could be a beautiful relationship.
It could. In a way, we are the future that already happened. in that way. But the message would be that you must be and keep being faith-based and understanding that we are here for a calling. We are not in South Africa just by chance. It's a calling that has us there in South Africa, and that's why we've got the responsibility to address the issues there, but also ask for support and creating awareness.
I love that you say that, because I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I see it among her friends, and when we homeschooled, and so the classes that I would teach or whatever, and they have this sense of overwhelming dread or fear or hopelessness, because what is our future? We can't trust the government. We can't trust the churches. We can't trust the schools. Like, everything is against them. And I'm like, no, you are here for such a time as this. Like, this is exciting. And I feel like even just this week, I've been preaching this so much that when the founding fathers in America, had this opportunity before them to establish our nation, we can study them and think, wow, would I have done that? Would I have stood up? Would I have fought? Would I have prayed for divine guidance? All these things. They're such heroes. Could I have been that person? And now here we are today, and we're presented with these same opportunities, and we have resources, we have allies, we have knowledge that they didn't have back then. I mean, like, this is a great time to be alive. It's very exciting.
Absolutely.
I'm extremely inspired by what you've told us today and the things that your group is doing. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. So tell our audience how they can learn more, how they can maybe contact you or find out how to help or
Is
get
there
help.
a website?
We have a website. I can share the website, and it's an Afrikaans website, but we can maybe also add the link. But it's solidarity. We've got an English website, of course, as well. It's www.solidaritymovement.co.za. www.solidaritymovement.co.za.
ZA.
Yeah, we've got
ZA.
ZA would be correct. And there is information about our different institutions, the work that we do, latest press releases, and it's an overview of all the institutions. And there's also a link somewhere to state what the projects are that we are working upon. And all projects is nothing which just funnels to some unknown source. It's very concrete and practical, that we need safety equipment, for example, and this is the specific drones and bulletproof vests, and these are the things that we require, and that is detailed on our website in different categories.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the last word here. If you were going to tell our audience, you can look at that camera and tell our audience, what is the maybe one or maybe two most important, like right now, this is what you should do?
Thank you so much for this opportunity and be able to speak also to you directly. The one or two things that's most important and pressing to us is, on the one side, it is support for the educational facilities that we are building, and any support in that regard will assist a great deal. As I said, that the institution that we built on literally 10 rands, which is 50 cents, that we, and many little contributions can make a big difference. So that's the first priority. The second priority, which is also located in the website, and there's two booklets here that expands on that, is specific contributions in relation to the safety equipment that we required. We've got a list of 5 or 6 very items that we desperately need. It includes drones, it includes certain equipment, and also enabling us to expand our training and our facilities and our material to more and more people in South Africa in order for us to help ourselves and make our own community safe. And it also places us in a position to help and make a contribution to the country as a whole.
That's wonderful. So
Yes.
This has been so interesting. We thank you so much for even approaching us and saying, can we have a conversation? Because it was never on my radar, but it's been very, very helpful. And I think hopefully you'll find friends in America, friends of the faith and of the same self-governance desire that are going to reach out and help, just as you have reached out to try to help us. So we toast at the end of all of our episodes. So here's to Texas and to South Africa.
And here's to true Texans and true South Africans.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.